old you are. I don't care what you is. That's not proper English. Let me restart. I don't care how old you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are. That shit hurts. Red as shit. I just want to let you know that. I don't care what you are, how old you are, who you are. Don't come to my house because I'm not letting your ass in. I just want to let you know that first and foremost. Now we can go ahead and... My hand's red as shit.
This story happened quite a few years ago. I spent some time being homeless during my lifetime, and being homeless in itself is scary. I've had my share of scary moments, but the one thing that stands out to me the most was when I took shelter in an abandoned factory during a snowstorm. It was winter and it had been snowing heavily. I knew a snowstorm was on its way, and I also knew there was an old sewing factory nearby. When I got to the factory, it was, as expected, run down, vandalized, and abandoned. And this was the only place I could shelter from the snowstorm that night. I found a way inside, and it was what you expected an old sewing factory to look like. A lot of stuff was still there. Desks, sewing machines, offices that were vandalized, and above was an upstairs walkway that could look over the workers' area that then led to an office where I guess the boss would be. Naturally, I looked around the factory to make sure there wasn't anyone in there, and there wasn't. There was a sofa that looked comfy enough for me to lay on and sleep for the night. I spent the night reading a book while using a camping lantern for light. After a while, I started to get tired and shut my eyes. I was wrapped up as warm as I could, listening to the harsh, cold winds coming from the snowstorm outside. Later that night, I woke up to a bang. I sat up, turned on my camp lantern, and I looked around. I couldn't see anyone around that could have made that noise. The next thing that happened was I could hear thunderous and slow footsteps coming from above me on the walkway. I was too frightened to say or do anything, mainly because there was no one on the walkway when I looked up there before. Even though there wasn't anyone there, I could still hear the footsteps. The heavy, slow footsteps continued to the boss's office, and then the office door slammed shut. I was so afraid I sat there frozen, not knowing what to do. I wanted to get up and leave the factory, but the reality was that I couldn't. It was a snowstorm outside, and I would have frozen to death if I left the factory. I had no choice but to stay. With my camp lantern still on, I sat down and I didn't take my eyes away from the boss's office door. At some point, I passed out from exhaustion. When I woke up again, my first thought was to look up at the office door. And through the door window was a dark figure standing there, watching me. I watched the dark figure and I was terrified. I got up, packed my things, and I hauled ass out of that factory.
I feel like anybody... Now, there are YouTubers that say haul ass. Hell, there's probably YouTubers that say cluck, which I've never heard of any YouTuber saying cluck. Not the ones I'm subscribed to. So when people use the word cluck or haul ass, or even say the word Adidas, I'm just automatically thinking about my video.
Thankfully, it must have been around 5 a.m. because the storm had died down. I left the factory and I never looked back. To this day, I still have no clue what could explain what happened that night. And worst of all, why that dark figure was watching me.
Your guess is as good as mine. He probably had on some van
A couple of years ago, my brother David and I would be driving up north to visit our parents. I remember there being heavy snow and a snowstorm in the forecast. I tried to tell my brother maybe we should wait a week for it to be less snowy and then head to our parents. But my brother was stubborn as he insisted that we would be okay to drive, even though there was a chance we could get caught in the snowstorm. It was the day of our drive to our parents', and David was driving. He was taking it easy as it was snowing and the roads were slippery. We were about halfway when the expected snowstorm hit us quite hard.
Before I got into his car, I'd have been like, hey, David, hold on, let me check your tires. Because if you got anything but Adidas tires, clock your ass for letting me come with you. Because we're going to get clocked up either way. So I just want to know what you got, what you working with. Because if you got any other type of tires that's not Adidas, can't get me out of this. For real. Because I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? Like, I love you. But shit.
David pulled over and parked the car. I turned to him with a smug smile. He told me he didn't want to hear it. David wanted to wait until the snowstorm calmed down. So we both sat in the car, scrolling through our phones, trying to kill the time. After 25 minutes went by, I was startled when I heard a knock on my window. I looked through the window, and I saw a very messy, bearded, dirty man. He was looking at me with his wide, bloodshot eyes. I let the window down a crack, and I asked the man what he wanted. It was hard to make out what he was saying.
Nah, I'm not cracking nothing. I would be like, window all the way up. All you hear is just muffled shits. But you can hear me. Just yell out real loud. What? Huh? You want to come in here? That's tough. Tough. You better find somebody else to play around with because you got the right one tonight. You got the right one, and I'm with the shit tonight. I didn't even want to come out here. I'm hot right now. I'm tight. Huh? I'll fuck you up.
Because the wind, the snowstorm, and the man's mumbling. However, I did make out that he was asking for money. My brother and I didn't carry cash, so I told the man that we didn't have anything for him. The man didn't leave right away.
Hey, I seen the video. I forgot who did it, but like, he said y'all don't. He wanted some money, but y'all didn't have cash. Oh, you got his cards. What is that thing called when you have a device and you can? It's portable. You like some restaurants have it. You swipe the card and the funds. I don't know how they get the funds, but it's like you swipe the card and like now they got money. What if you pulled out that?
Continued mumbling about money. After telling the man politely several times that we couldn't help him, I rolled up my window and turned to look at my phone. I could see the man standing there for a few moments before walking away. I told my brother that you can only be polite and patient for so long before you have to put your foot down. He nodded in agreement. When the snowstorm started to die down, I asked David, should we continue driving? He said yeah, but he was going to go outside for a piss before we headed off. Shortly after David got out of the car, the back door opened and closed. Not looking up from my phone, I said, that was pretty quick. I didn't think anything was off about David getting in the back seat, as we had a box there with drinks and snacks inside. A few seconds later, I looked up and I saw David walking back towards the car. Before I had any chance to turn around, I felt a powerful arm wrap around my throat, choking me. I was panicking, trying my hardest to release my neck from the person's grip.
Man, I've never been in a situation, but like, although you can get DNA from, by scratching people, you can get the DNA like off your fingernails. I'm doing it, but like, I'm also scratching the shit. Like, I'm taking chunks out of your shits. That's what I would do. The hell I look like? You choking me out. I'm like, both of my hairs are good. I'm scratching all shits out of you.
Soon after, David opened the back passenger door and fought and drug off the man who was trying to kill me. The man didn't fight David for long before running off and away from the car. David asked if I was all right. Catching my breath, I asked him who it was. David said he wasn't certain, but it looked like the man who asked for money earlier. I said it was definitely him. It had to be. I calmed down while David called the police. After making a police report, we continued our trip to our parents. I would never forget how lucky I am that David was there to save me. I wouldn't be here to tell this story.
David was in
It's
cahoots.
crazy to think what some people will do when given the opportunity.
David was in cahoots. Right.
My name is Hannah, and this story took place in 2009 when I was 7 years old.
Sup,
We had
Hannah?
a big shed in our back garden that my dad and uncle converted into a small gaming chill-out space for me. It was my favorite place. It had a TV, a PS3, a big sofa, mini pool table that could flip into another mini tennis table, a couple of old arcade games that my uncle gave me, and a small fridge for cold drinks in the summer. It was wintertime and it had been snowing. My mom told me that a snowstorm was due, so she said that she would make me a hot chocolate and suggested that I spend time in my gaming shed while the storm outside. I remember I was obsessed with Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I hadn't got the new one yet, but I had hoped my parents got it for me for Christmas. After a few hours of playing, I heard a knock at the shed door. I opened it and a man was standing there. A man I didn't know. He looked like he was freezing, standing out in that snowstorm.
Oh.
He knelt down and he said, "Hello, little girl. I'm freezing. Can I come in?"
Oh. Boo-hoo. Oh, look it. You freezing to death. You freezing your ass off. You got hypothermia. You freezing. Oh, boo. Get the hell out of here. I'll fuck your ass up. Oh, you think I won't? Say something else. Oh.
Said, "Of course," and I let the man in. I remember thinking that I wouldn't want to be out there in a cold snowstorm like that. At the time, I was just 7 and I didn't see any danger.
Oh, yeah.
He told me his name was Eric and he seemed very friendly.
I
And
don't
asked
care.
questions about me and what I liked.
Oh, wow.
I told him I wanted video games and he asked me about gaming and my setup and what games I liked.
Hell
I
no.
told him my favorite game was Call of Duty. Eric told me that he had the new Call of Duty in his car, and he asked me if I wanted to play it. Naturally, I said yes. I told Eric that I didn't have a coat for the snowstorm, and I would ask my mom for a coat. He stopped me and he said that I could wear his coat. I asked if he wouldn't be cold, and he said he'll be okay with a smile on his face.
What?
Eric then wrapped his coat around me and held my hand, leading me out of the shed and toward his car. I remember the coat smelled like shit and filthy body odor. When we got to his old brown car, he opened the door, looked around, and told me that he never...
This story is insane.
the game at his house. He said to come with him, and he wouldn't be long as his house wasn't very far. I wasn't sure about getting in his car, but Eric convinced me, and I didn't want to be in the cold for another second.
Oh my God. You're lying, bro. Like, what makes people do this? What actually makes people do this? This is insane. Like, what goes through your head? Like, you cannot be human and doing this shit. You cannot. You're lying, bro.
I remember after getting in Eric's car, he started to change. He became very nervous and agitated, even more so that his car wouldn't start. The more the car wouldn't start, the more agitated he became. He started to get angry, and this is when I began to get scared and I wanted to go back inside. The next thing that happened was Eric pushed me out of the car before finally getting his car to start, and then he sped off. My uncle came running over to me and picked me up,
You got the code?
bringing me back into the house.
You still got the
It's
code?
hard to remember what happened next. All I remember is my uncle and parents talking in a panic, almost as if they were arguing. As I got older, I remembered this story. I tried talking to my parents about this, but they never wanted to. I spoke to my uncle and he told me what he saw that day. He told me he saw me in a car with a stranger, and it was a strange man who looked like he was eager to get away. And my uncle knew something was wrong. That was when he started running toward the car. My uncle also thought that Eric, if that was his real name, saw my uncle and he panicked. And that's why he pushed me out of the car before getting away. This story would have had a much darker ending had my uncle not seen me and been there to save me from what was clear. Eric was a predator.
That's insane. They still didn't. So they never told you? I would have figured. I don't know how old you are, now, but I don't know. Maybe it would be traumatizing if they told you exactly what happened. But you pretty much got the gist of it. And that, I'm just so confused on how we can live, how good, wholesome people. Gattor Files. I'm just so confused on how good, wholesome people, right, can live on the same planet as serial killers, pedophiles, predators, rapists, traffickers. How can a good, wholesome person live on the same planet as a pure evil person? I don't get it. That's insane. And there's a multiverses and there's other Earth-like planets out there. And there's probably a universe or Earth out there with just good, wholesome people. And there's probably a planet out there, Earth-like, that with just evil people. And I feel like we're just in the middle of that shit. I'll tell you what, when I decide to have children, I'm not gonna be overprotective, but I'm teaching my children my ways, and what to do when they find themselves in certain situations. Cause best believe at clocking 5 years old, they throwing hands. They know what to do. Hell no. That's insane. All right, keep it cool. Keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy, my family.